The cutscene at the end of the 3.1 Archon quest left so many of us absolutely speechless. And not speechless in the sense that we found it amazing, but speechless as in it was just confusing. Like, how the hell does this line up with the timeline? So many people are having long ass debates about how it all makes sense and arguments on what's real and what's not. As a matter of fact, what inspired me to create this video was a tweet of a fellow lore nerd, the little onion that could. And I just looked at the replies and see a whole ass ongoing debate on this specific cutscene. I wanted to weigh in and share my thoughts as well, but I said, you know what? Maybe I can turn this into a video, maybe I can get those juicy ad revenue, So instead of writing tweets, here I am now speaking to you all in this video where I will be breaking down the narrative, the meaning, and the chronology of this cutscene. I'll state it here first and foremost. I think that the cataclysm and the fall of the Scarlet King civilization happened at the same time. Now hold on. Before you start typing away, you gotta hear me out here. You gotta give me a chance. So let's get on with the video. We know that the narrator of the scene is the priest of the Scarlet King, Priest Kasala. Throughout the video, he explains what he has observed in his life, the rise of King Deshret's civilization and the fall of it. He attributes knowledge as the one that created it and the one that inevitably destroyed it. Very poetically ironic that knowledge, in this sense, was of course the reason why it was able to thrive. But because of the so-called forbidden knowledge that spread like the plague, it also became their downfall. Speaking of forbidden knowledge, I want to tackle and explain what exactly this forbidden knowledge was, as well as how I think it relates to Khaenri'ah and Celestia. I think that the forbidden knowledge that the Scarlet King brought into the world was the exact same forbidden knowledge that got Khaenri'ah punished. Think about it. Khaenri'ah knew too much, and Celestia punished them for it, and laid a curse on them that turned them into abyssal monsters. And in this cutscene, the forbidden knowledge that the Scarlet King brought into the world seemed to have affected people in a physical way as well, making dark scales appear in their skin, morphing their limbs, which, to me, seems like it's turning them into monsters, don't you think? This also supports my idea that the cataclysm and the fall of the Scarlet King's kingdom happened at the same time. Because as Celestia was cursing Khaenri'ah for their possession of forbidden knowledge, the Scarlet King's people probably got caught in the crossfire as well, since they did have forbidden knowledge. But the problem with this series is that many people are probably gonna say, oh, but didn't the Scarlet King die several millennia ago? And didn't the cataclysm happen 500 years ago? So that doesn't really line up. And to that, I say, look at Enkanomiya lore. Look how jumbled the numerical dates that miHoYo give us. So, I'm running with it. I'm running with this theory. I think that the cataclysm and the death of the Scarlet King probably happened at the same time. You can't tell me, you can't tell me otherwise. I mean, that's why this is a theory. Anyways, in the book of the Lay of Al-Ahmar, it's said that after years of being an emo and grieving the death of the goddess of flowers, the Scarlet King was convinced by one of his retainers that only resurrection and eternal life can make him all happy again. And doesn't the concepts of eternal life and resurrection just sound like Kemiya to you? Because the art of Kemiya is all about controlling life or manipulating life elements, I guess. Al-Ahmar trapped himself within a maze to search for the forbidden knowledge on separating his consciousness from his mortal form to attain eternal life, I guess. And he successfully did it. He was able to separate his consciousness from his body, and then his body deteriorated and got eaten by worms. It was just... this book is bloody as hell. But through the use of forbidden knowledge, he was able to separate his consciousness from his body. But I'm guessing that since he is a god, his knowledge of the forbidden knowledge did not bring any punishment towards him. However, in the process of separating his consciousness from his body, he accidentally merges with the consciousness of millions of his people, which results in basically sharing with them the forbidden knowledge that he had. It's like when you're... Oh, I know. It's like when you're watching something suspicious with your earphones on, like on your phone, but then your phone accidentally connects to a Bluetooth speaker nearby, and then it just plays it on loudspeaker, and everyone just hears the suspicious thing that you're watching, and now everyone knows that you're a weirdo. No, anyways. Now that this forbidden knowledge has spread into the minds of millions of people, the suffering and punishment started then and there. People were suffering from diseases, many people developed weird black scales, yada yada, and some people were just straight up dying. Rukadevata, being the benevolent girl boss that she is, stepped in and helped the Scarlet King get out of the situation he put himself in. Through the power of life, so to say, she was able to preserve some of the survivors and contain the disease from spreading even further. However, forbidden knowledge still existed and was still a prominent threat to the safety of their people. And mind you, this was happening during the cataclysm, so Rukadevata had her hands full as well. So I guess this is where the Scarlet King chose to sacrifice himself and take over the conflict in Sumeru, while Rukadevata went straight to the source of the conflict, in Khaenri'ah, to stop the spread of the quote-unquote forbidden knowledge there as well. Forbidden knowledge that is being talked about in this line is probably a metaphor for the abyssal creatures, which are technically the curse that came of said knowledge, since they are creatures that were formed from the forbidden knowledge. I guess you can call them forbidden knowledge. So, after she eradicated the forbidden knowledge in Khaenri'ah, here is where she was reduced to a form of a child, making it all line back up again in the timeline. Since Kusanali mentions that she was found in the remains of Khaenri'ah by the scholars and was immediately escorted back to Sumeru 500 years ago. My educated guess here is that no, Rukadevata did not turn into a child twice. She only turned into a child once, and it's in this part of the cutscene which took place during the cataclysm in Khaenri'ah. Since, she did technically help the Scarlet King eradicate forbidden knowledge from the world. Alright, to conclude, the fall of the Scarlet King civilization as well as the cataclysm happened at the same time. The forbidden knowledge that spread in Sumeru was the very same one that got Khaenri'ah obliterated to smithereens. And the curse that was inlaid upon the Khaenri'an people were probably similar or related to Elazar. Lastly, Greater Lord Rukadevata and Lesser Lord Kusanali are probably the same if not a reincarnation of the former. So there you have it, my breakdown or analogy on the cutscene Lost Legacies in the Sand. Apologies if I haven't uploaded in a while, by the way. School is being a bitch and real life be hitting me hard on the face, But I definitely promise to upload more now that I have a more well thought out way of balancing things. And to prove to you all that, I actually have a list of videos that I'm currently working on. Alright, we have a literary analysis on the Wall of Samuel, so it's gonna be like a deep talk about how good the Wall of Samuel is, the concept of the Wall of Samuel. And then next we have a video on how many Geneva Conventions the Fatui has broken, which honestly I think is gonna be a very funny video and a very fun video to make. And then we have loading screens part 3. The thing that everyone wants, so why not do it? And so much more. I have so much more content planned, so I hope you all look forward with the content that I'm gonna be providing in the next couple of weeks. And see you then.